And welcome back, amazing community. Yes, we're finally podcasting, ladies and gentlemen. I actually felt a little bit of withdrawal, if you will, because there were no shows Thursday and Friday because I was traveling and handling the very amazing event, thanks to Bethesda. And again, of course, I have to say this publicly because it's never happened to me as a podcaster or a content creator where a publisher noticed the channel enough to fly me out, literally on their dime, fly me out and spend time with a game that is highly anticipated. I was treated incredibly well, and it just was an amazing experience. So once again, thank you to Bethesda and Bethesda's amazing PR who worked with me diligently to not only get me there, but to make sure that while I was there, everything ran smooth, and it did. It was just an amazing event. I am going to be sent my gameplay footage on a B-roll, which I will be able to talk about publicly on the 29th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is when the embargo lifts. They're going to send it to me hopefully this week. That gives me some time to not only build the video and pick out the parts that I want to show off in the what they're sending me, but also do the correct voiceover and put out a quality Colt Eastwood-esque type of video. So of course you get a chance, and there's going to be creators all over the place that are going to be doing this. But I am definitely going to be doing a video showing off my gameplay and giving you my impressions. And I cannot wait to talk about it because I'm literally busting at the seams. But it was an amazing experience, something that I, as a channel, have never happened before. And I just want to say this: as much as I'm thanking Bethesda, I want to thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, because the 15,000 subscribers that Mrs. Boom and I have for the channel, well, we were noticed because you have taken the time to not only subscribe to the channel, but show up and talk positively about the coverage that Mrs. Boom and I do here on Double Barrel Gaming. And again, you guys and gals get not enough praise, in my opinion, from the content creation community, because we would not have this kind of accolades if it wasn't for you watching the shows, you talking about the shows, you reposting the shows. So again, as much as I want to thank Bethesda, and I want to thank you for taking the time to get us here, because without you, well, there's no Double Barrel Gaming, and there's certainly no invites to events like I just covered at the end of last week. So Fuzzy, welcome back, brother. I missed you on Friday morning's Breakfast with Boom, but here we are. We have a couple of really big topics. Apparently, Game Pass once again is on life support, so get ready to do the compressions on the pump the chest and make sure that it lives.
And
of course,
Game Pass has got to be a zombie at this point. It's been dead and back to life and dead so many times. I've lost count at this point. But man, what an amazing service for people to keep on, I guess, predicting its death death day or something. But man, so glad to be here with you. Awesome to hear you had a great time and returned safely and everything. Man, it's awesome, not just for Bethesda doing this, but like you said, the community. So grateful that we have the chat that we have here today, and everybody that catches us on replay up here watching us and stuff like that. So it's awesome to be here. Thank you so much for having this show today. And man, we got some interesting topics to get into. So let's do this.
Well, you know what? Let's open up with the one that popped up over the weekend. Arron Greenberg in the news. Now, who's Arron Greenberg? Well, he's the vice president of Xbox marketing. And Greenie is not only a gentle giant, but it's someone that you would be surprised he would remember your name. Now, I met Arron for the first time at E3 2019. Took a couple of pictures, had a nice conversation with him. And then many years later, this past June, I happened to go to what was no longer called E3, but the festivities for gaming during the summer. And I met him at Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest. And interestingly enough, he comes over to me and, hey, Boom, how's everything? And you know what I'm saying? Like that's real, right? That's real. So he's in the news because apparently, on Reddit. So again, take it with a grain of salt because we do have a comment and a response from Arron Greenberg himself. Something he said, or may not have said, or said something similar was taken out of context. Now, he was at a Flight Simulator 2024 event, and someone in the crowd, according to Reddit, yelled Banjo Kazooie, which, of course, whoever that person is, thank you very much for putting that in the minds of Microsoft because I don't know what's happening, but we got to bring the bird and the bear back. So apparently, according to the rumor, there was a comment from him that said, "Oh, nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie," and of course, the internet does what the internet does, and it went completely ape shit. And obviously, people are banging their chest and throwing chairs and breaking the front of their TVs because he said this. Well, I pulled a story from opencritic.com. Now, again, there were a lot of sites that I've never heard of. What I was waiting for was someone like, for instance, VGC to pick it up, and I did not see them do so. So the closest of legitimate publications that I could find that were talking about this was opencritic.com. So I'm going to read the headline, folks. We're going to get into what they claim was said, and I'll read it verbatim. And of course, then we will get into what Arron Greenberg actually said, and we're going to kind of discuss it because I think that there is a misconception on whether or not platforms outside of Nintendo can be successful. I think that for a lot of older gamers like myself, Paris Lily being, of course, one of those older gamers, well, there are Banjo Bros out there. And I think that Banjo Kazooie is a recognizable character that could have some serious transmedia, wins. Because transmedia is something that incorporates a brand across multiple avenues of selling that brand, whether that be toys, whether that be comics or graphic novels or anime or animated cartoons or shows, obviously toys, statues, video games, of course. And well, Banjo Kazooie is a likable character or a pair of characters because both Banjo and Kazooie, they made their debut in Smash Brothers, and they made it to great success. Again, I've talked about this. You've heard me go on about this many times, and if I'm boring you, by all means, please change the channel. But the videos that you can go find right now of when these Smash Brother characters are announced were some of the most epic gaming things I've ever seen. Like, talking about it actually gives me goosebumps, honestly. And specifically looking at the hundreds of videos that I've seen over the last course of the couple of years with Banjo Kazooie, and just so many gamers in one room waiting for the next Smash Brother, and it's him, and everyone completely goes ape shit. It's just it's bliss. It is just wonderful to see. It's exhilarating as a fan, and it just goes to show you that if Nintendo could have this kind of success, Fuzzy, with Banjo Kazooie as being a third-party character that's used to be owned by them, is now owned by Microsoft because they owned Rare and they sold Rare to Microsoft many years ago. That kind of success, even though it doesn't have to be a fighter, it could just be a new Banjo Kazooie. It could be just simply a remake, not a remaster. Nobody wants that. Everybody wants, you want to do it right. Take what Capcom did with Resident Evil 2, or what Square did with Final Fantasy VII Remake, and remake it from the ground up with modern graphics, modern controls, and it will not take a $200 million budget to do that. It just won't. So the article goes on to say, Xbox head claims that nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie. This was written by Todd Black. He's from the Outer Haven Productions. It's posted on Open Critic on October 19th, 2024. Now it goes on to say, as we've noted many times on the Nintendo Entertainment Podcast, There are various franchises that the big N doesn't capitalize on for one reason or another that boggles our minds. That catch is that way. It says here is that the catch is that they have so many franchises that they do capitalize on that it can get lost in the shuffle. And of course, it goes on to say currently both Sony and Xbox are having IP problems where they aren't able to not just get games out, but get them out to sell. Now, I mean, I guess they're kind of right about that because Microsoft, we're still waiting on several first-party games, but they have had plenty. Unlike Sony, who's been a bit of a drought, they've been doing remasters and remakes, and then, and that just is what it is right now.
Yeah. But
Banjo Kazooie is a character that I know that is in the hearts and minds of Arron Greenberg. I know that these characters are in the hearts and minds of Phil Spencer, and I know that because I personally had a conversation with Phil in 2019 regarding Banjo Kazooie. Now, of course, that conversation will not be made public, but we did specifically talk about it. And after the conversation ended, Phil promptly said he was going to remember me always as Mr. Banjo Kazooie, which was pretty dope. But I want to pull up what Arron Greenberg had to say in defense of what happened with him. Now, let me see if I can find it right here. Okay, so this all started with Jwood 2010, who is on Twitter. And he quoted that My Nintendo News is reporting what we just announced, where he was quoted in saying no one cares about Banjo Kazooie, and Jwood simply says if this is actually true, I'm going to assume that it was sarcasm lost in translation. I have a hard time believing that Arron Greenberg would say something like this publicly. So of course, Arron, to defend himself as he should, responded immediately and says, correct. I absolutely know how much Banjo-Kazooie means to our fans and gamers everywhere. It holds a special place in my heart growing up playing these classic games, and end quote. And Jwood then responds like seconds after, thank you for clarifying Banjo for life. Look, this is not the biggest topic of the show, but it's one that's important to me. I hope that for all the gray beards that are here, it's important to you. And I have to then take a step back and say, if you don't believe that a platformer done with care and respect and love can sell, all I have to do is say, and you guys and gals are going to hate me for this, but I don't care. Astrobot 2024 is a perfect example. Now, is it going to outsell Call of Duty? No. Is it going to outsell Metaphor? No. But the fact that that game sold as well as it did, now, should it have sold better? I think so. But there is something to be said about the game coming out, being done correctly, and getting high grades across anyone that played it. I played it to completion. I'm one trophy away that I'm never going to get from the platinum because that is just it's just too difficult. So I'm not going to waste my time. I have too many games to play. But I loved it. Let's get into what was said, and of course, like the internet, being taken out of context, because I'm actually glad that Arron didn't let this simmer longer. I'm glad he came out and said, no, this is, I know this that this is a pair of characters that people appreciate. Let's get your thoughts, man.
Well, it's weird. Like, I understand that there's people that may not be the biggest fan of Banjo-Kazooie or platformers in general, but it's been one of those staples in video gaming history, and it needs to be on, I would say, every platform, even if it's pretty much not necessarily a remaster, but like a combination of a group of them. Like, my biggest thing is I would love to see something like Crash, Conquer, maybe even Raz from Psychonauts, as well as Banjo-Kazooie, maybe Spyro, all in one game.
Yeah.
And have it where, you can go between each character's world with the other characters, and maybe even have a builder where the community can build levels themselves, kind of thing. And I think at least on that end of things, that would be something that they should look at. If they don't think one of the platformers will do well on its own, they have a plethora of main characters for that they can interchange and have it as a platformers extravaganza or something, whatever they want to call it. If it's a mixture of all of the platformer IPs that they own, and make that one solid game where the community can support it, have speed runs, have different Easter eggs in each one of the worlds that they create, as well as ones that are handcrafted by whatever team they have, whether they outsource it to Toys for Bob or do it in house or something like that. I think it's a worthwhile venture. Like our racers are one of the pillars. Yep. Shooters, obviously, but they're still probably the hotness for a good long time. I don't see shooters falling off anytime soon. RPGs, obviously, Xbox is pretty much like the home of them right now.
Yep, indeed.
But platformers is one that I wouldn't let just Nintendo be the only one that can do platformers. And Astrobot, yes, while it's not charting as well as it was early on, it's still enough of a platformer that brings attention to that actual platform if you're outside of the PlayStation ecosystem currently. And that's something that if Microsoft is looking for family friendly games, which they've claimed to want to have more of, that would be a perfect opportunity. Now, Conquer may not be the most family friendly, but I joked with 3-Bit last night about it, where make Conquer an unlockable character only if the adults are the ones playing it, where it's like, oh, your gamer tag shows that you're over 18 or over 21. Yeah, you can unlock Conquer automatically, and just keep it away from the under 17 crowd or under 13 crowd or whatever. But make it where if Conquer is a playable character for the younger crowd, just have it where he burps from drinking too much soda as opposed to beer, and maybe not so many curse words or something along those lines. But I think there's room within all of the games, and believe me, there's a full roadmap right now for Xbox, but there's always a place to have a platformer and something that's just that dumb fun type of game that sometimes it can get frustrating. Hopefully they don't go as hardcore as something like a Cuphead type of platformer, but I think there is definitely room to have that within their lineup. And I hope that they find a way to make that happen, even if it's a combination of all of them. But Banjo Kazooie seems to have the most buzz about it right now. We've had some recent things with Crash Bandicoot, so it's not that people are requesting it because it's already readily available, but something new for Banjo, or even something new for Conquer for that matter, I think is worth their time. And they always have Game Pass as that thing that would cover it for the lore to the platform, as opposed to if they're worried about the investment versus how many sales they'll get on just doing that platformer. Like I said, having a platformer of your own in your library using your own IP, it's worthwhile to have it as something that's a staple within the Game Pass subscription itself.
I mean, look, again, not the biggest topic of the show, folks, but one that needed to be covered for sure, simply because of some accusations that were made. Shout out to Arron Greenberg for clarifying, that he does care about the character, and what he said, he probably said it in jest. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, my PR hat is always on when I'm in the public view. And what does that mean? That means that I am never going to say anything that could be taken out of context to use against me in a court of law, so to speak. So I wouldn't personally have said, nobody cares about Banjo, because he of all people should know that Xbox is absolutely 1000% out of all of the platforms, the one that people are A, looking to dump on, and B, will take any pinch of negativity and try and make it into, from a mountain, from a molehill to a mountain, right? That's just what they do, right? But it's fine. I'm glad he clarified it. Getting back to the characters, again, I find it. I'm not a marketing guy, folks. I say that all the time. So maybe what do I know about making games? Nothing. But I can say that if you look at Nintendo, and you compare the characters, maybe Mario is always going to be this mythical giant character, you know, Yoshi and Samus and Kid Icarus and Donkey Kong, and they just have a plethora of incredible characters that they have built since the 80s, right? They've been around ever since. So maybe Conker and Banjo and Spyro and Crash are never going to live up to those levels. That doesn't necessarily mean that they can't have great family-friendly games on Xbox Game Pass. Look, go to Xbox Game Pass right now, and there are 500 titles for you to play of every genre you could possibly imagine. And the two absent are family-friendly games and fighters. Now, we know Killer Instinct 2 is apparently, according to rumors, in development, and maybe that shows it, you know, next June. Maybe we get a chance to see what it looks like. Maybe that is something that's going to come out, and they're building it to, you know, a gas game where it's going to be, you know, consistent new characters, guest skins you could buy, whatever, and they're going to make money, and they're going to get all of my money if they release a Killer Instinct like that. But I like family-friendly games. I like platformers. I think that this is a gaming world where those can exist. They do have a place. I understand that they're not as popular as they used to be in the 90s with the with the N64 and of course the PlayStation 1. I get all of that, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a place. So if I am Microsoft, and I understand that there is, of course, investment risk in making a game like a Banjo 3, which I wouldn't do. I would personally test the waters with a simple strip Banjo Kazooie to its bones and build on that. Change nothing. Literally make it a remake of the original with modern controls and graphics. And I don't think you would need a team of any more than 50 to do it. You know, and again, Microsoft, Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, they're so big as companies. I mean, put out an email. Hey, anybody, we're considering building a new team to build this Banjo Kazooie. Does anyone? You'll have people that work within these studios that are like, yeah, I will get down with that, you know, and potentially recruit people from within that way. Or if you want to take the super cheap route, there was a game called Ukulele that was literally built by all X-Rare and Banjo developers. Hire them to do it. I mean, if you don't want to, you know, take the time to hire within to build a new team to do it, you had Toys for Bob, and I don't know what they're working on. Maybe it's a Banjo. I don't know, but you can certainly, definitely, at least in my opinion, reach out to the Ukulele team and say, hey, listen, we want a Banjo Kazooie. Are you up for the challenge? I mean, that's the easiest way to do it. But look, I don't want to hold up the show any further. Again, this is something that is a lot of people are probably yawning, and if you are, I apologize, but I think that it was news because, of course, Arron Greenberg always seems to be under the gun for something, and it's usually unfair. Now, again, he didn't say it, which tells me that he probably said it in jest. I just think that for me, and maybe it's because I'm former NYPD and I did community affairs, and everything is like super serious there. There is no jest when you're in uniform. And if you say something that's disingenuous or even something stupid, you're going to pay for it. So I always wear the PR hat when I'm out in public eye. And actually how I am here, I mean, I'm not like Batman. Like I don't slide down a pole and boom, I'm a different person. I'm like this. I was like this in uniform. This is how I was. But again, just word of advice, Arron, if you're listening in the future, just don't say things like that, because this is what happens. People try to take you out of context, and they run rampant with nonsense stories. And again, when I didn't see the VGCs picking it up and the IGNs, and even though I don't like IGN, you know, whatever about them, I knew that this had to be a load of you know what. But fine, we talked about it. It's done. We got it. I got it off my chest. I do want a Banjo Kazooie. and I hope that we get it. I really, really, really do.
Yeah.
But we got to talk about some of the other shenanigans that went on. Now, I sent it to you, and I, of course, had to respond, Fuzzy, because, man, so GameIndustry.biz. I'm going to be honest with you. In my personal opinion, they're not worth the powder to blow themselves up with. That's just me, right? Their stories are usually ridiculous. I don't know if Christopher Dring actually works for them anymore, or he did at one point. I put him on the Pay No Mind list freaking like 2 years ago because that guy is just a clown. Well, it turns out that this new article, which was not written by him, surprisingly, says this. And this again, I'm going to read what they said, and of course, I'm going to read my response. It says, depending on how the Game Pass situation shakes out, Sony could end up being the company that enjoys the most black ink on its financials from Black Ops 6, which is a bit of a bum note in what should be a triumphant moment for Xbox. Now, the story goes on to suggest, which is, it's just wild, that somehow, because PlayStation gamers are going to go out and buy Black Ops 6 in droves, and they make no mistake, folks, they are. Okay, it is going to be the biggest selling game on PlayStation. It is going to be the biggest selling game on Xbox, and I would even dare say it's probably going to be the biggest game on PC in 2024. It is the return of Black Ops. It is the longest Black Ops in development that the series has ever had, 4+ years. Round-based zombies is back. The multiplayer has all kinds of new movement, which I played. You saw me playing in the, like every time I play, like the gameplay. And for the first time since the Xbox 360 days, ladies and gentlemen, I am not playing campaign first. I am going right into multiplayer. That's it. I said it. As a matter of fact, I bought a brand new crystal green Elite controller just for Black Ops. Now, again, you say, well, wait a second, Boom. Why didn't you buy the Black Ops? Because I don't got no goddamn luck. Because I had bought that freaking controller 3 weeks ago before the Black Ops one was announced. And now I'm just kicking myself in the shin because I would have bought the Black Ops Elite. But I did at least buy the Black Ops regular controller, and, such is life. But it is an Elite controller, and that's what I enjoy playing with. But my response to that ridiculousness was this, folks. I said the disingenuous takes from the gaming media to stir up clicks, likes, and engagement never ceases to amaze me. As if PlayStation gamers buying Black Ops 6 is somehow a bad thing. The whole reason for the hashtag ABK investment is IP for Xbox Game Pass and a consistent flow of cash. Keep writing these small-minded opinions and leave the big business of gaming to the professionals. So, of course, I was a little cheeky on the back end of that. And of course, I did not provide a link because why should I? I simply just took a screen grab and, well, you can read the stupidity from gi.biz yourself if you want. I chose not to. But, Fuzzy, this goes on to, again, I did read the article for context. And somehow they are suggesting that the 30% that PlayStation is going to get from this Xbox first-party game is greater and better than the 70% that they're taking from PlayStation, and or the 100% that they're getting for people that are going to buy this on Xbox. To me, it's I don't get the mathematics. I'm slightly, maybe I'm a boob. Maybe I'm reading the room incorrectly.
No.
But it's just silliness. But I do want to get your hot take. But before we do, I do want to just catch up on super chats if you don't mind. There's been quite a few of them. Okay, so we have a total of 6. So first of all, Julia has been a channel member for 37 months and doesn't even say anything. So Julia, thank you so much for the generosity and continued support of the channel. We greatly appreciate it. That's a long time to be a channel member, and that means that obviously you're enjoying the content, and we truly appreciate that. Will Broke Boy Lewis, generous friend of the program, has gifted 5 Double Barrel Gaming memberships, as he's done a ton of times before. Will, thank you for obviously being here, but thank you so much for the generosity. We truly appreciate it. Jay Slay, my brother, what's going on, dude? Great to see you here. He drops a very generous $2 super chat, and he goes, boom, on the subject of platformers. Now, I don't know how to say it.
I know the game he's talking about. It is almost like a Ratchet, not Ratchet and Clank, but more of like Crash Bandicoot. It's an awesome looking platformer. Definitely worth checking out.
Or something. I think maybe it's Nico. Maybe it's Nico DeRico. That's what it looks like. Yeah, Nico DeRico. Yeah. So, first of all, funny you should actually put a super chat in there. I am currently playing Nico DeRico. The company, the developer, reached out to me and said, "Hey, Boom, we heard you like platformers. Would you like to play it?" And I'm like, freaking, oh yeah. So I've been playing it. I'm in the 3rd level right now. It is very difficult. It's got some difficulty there. I love the game. It's gorgeous. It's voiced, which is surprising for a small team to actually have voiceovers for all of the cutscenes. Like, I couldn't believe it. Again, it's a platformer. It's got some difficulty spikes though. It does not have a double jump, and I maybe I'm doing it wrong. It says you're supposed to be able to press and hold A to jump higher. It's just not working for me. Maybe I'm doing it wrong. But if it had a double jump, it'd be so much better. It is a fantastic game. And what's great about it is if you, I would put it, if you're going to play with your kids, on the lowest difficulty. I think there's 2. There's normal, which is what I'm playing it on, and it's kind of, putting me in my place. And there is a much lesser challenging version that you can play, but you can play co-op with your kids, which is pretty dope. Or you can play single player. I'm playing it, Nico DeRico. Go check it out. It's not expensive. And if you like platformers like me, you will definitely appreciate this. Shout out to you, Jay Slay, for the mention. Will Broke Boy Lewis has been a channel member for 3 months, goes on to say this. It was funny last night in Web Dave's show, putting down Xbox games and waiting for them, said it would be heavily clipped. And today, seeing it everywhere. Yeah, I mean, it's look, people are entitled to their opinions. Opinions like a-holes, they all stink, right? That some of them stink. That's just the way it is. But it is what it is. Will drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. And Will goes on to say this. See, that's the problem. People like Aaron, Jez, Randall, Thor, Colt are associated with Xbox. And the PlayStation fanboys will take their opinions and treat it as facts. I mean, look, I'm going to say this about the PlayStation, and this is not every PlayStation gamer. These are the extremists. These are the loyalists that say that PlayStation can do no wrong. They don't have much to talk about. As a matter of fact, if you listen to any of their shows, which I do not, but people send me stuff all the time, all they're talking about is Xbox. That to me is wild. I guess because PlayStation doesn't have a lot happening. What else? What else can you say? But yeah, we are, and I say we, meaning Fuzzy, and of course everyone you just mentioned. We're all Xbox dudes, right? That's our platform of choice. There's nothing wrong with that. And when I give an opinion, I always say it is my opinion. You don't have to agree with it. You may actually hate my opinion, and that's perfectly fine. but it's not fact. When I do have factual things, I will state as such. They don't do that. They do, again, this is what happened with Arron, for instance. He goes out and says, nobody cares about Banjo Kazooie. And I'm sure that's how it exactly went when someone yelled, because he was there for something totally different. And they were like, oh my God, Arron, you monster. You know, it's just silliness. But appreciate the additional super chat, Will. Thanks so much for being here as always. Dragon Wolf, what's going on, brother? Welcome back. He has been a channel member for 9 months. He goes on to say, boom, can you explain when people say I will only pay $70, example, Call of Duty and Game Pass is $200+. They never include the cost of PSN or Xbox Live in the price. Well, I mean, look, Call of Duty, if you're going to buy the game, and if you're going to buy the game, it's going to be either $76.43 or 108 and change for the Bolt Edition. If you are a smart gamer, you are a frugal gamer, you will get Game Pass and you'll pay the $30 to upgrade to the Volt Edition that people on PlayStation are going to pay $108 for, because they don't have the option to play the game without actually buying it. For PSN, you have to have a PSN account, even if it's the cheapest one. And the cheapest one, I believe, is $80, no longer $60. So you have to have at least the cheapest version to be able to play online. For Game Pass, it's the same thing, unless you pay separately for Gold, which I don't even know if you can do that anymore, to be honest with you. So it would behoove you to at least get Call of Duty, to pay your $20 and you're getting Call of Duty plus everything else. But yeah, people do forget that you do have to pay for online, which it's just big business, brother. That's what it is. Adidas 20 drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, Ginger Ale, Call of Duty on PS5, also 7030. Hey, Fuzzy. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's every time a game is purchased on PlayStation that is a Microsoft owned game, Microsoft gets 70%, Sony gets 30%. I just think that I think what they were trying to what their opinion was trying to do was suggest that more people on PlayStation are going to buy Call of Duty than on Xbox. I guess if that's what they're going with. I don't think that in fact is the case. Will Broke Boy Lewis drops an additional very generous $2 super chat and says, order the Black Ops 6 Wrap Elite base wire controller. So did I. Actually just got the shipping notification. It'll be here. What is today's date? Today's what, the 21st? It'll be here on Wednesday, which I'm very, very excited because I still have my new Series X 2 terabyte to unbox. Like I literally undid unboxing, but I threw it back in there because I was traveling, was just too busy. So I have to set that up on Wednesday. So it's going to come in the nick of time because that is the skin I'm going to use. But Fuzzy, let's get back to the shenanigans. Again, it's not just GI.biz. We've been hearing for many, many years a plethora of anti-Xbox rhetoric, right? Xbox has no games. No, Xbox is in third place. Xbox is dead. Xbox is dying. Xbox needs to be resuscitated. Game Pass is unsustainable. Game Pass doesn't make any money. I mean, again, I don't have the actual stats, so when you're talking, I'm going to go looking for it. But I'm almost positive that Game Pass made $3 billion last year with a B. Yeah. Again, folks, I'm not a mathematician. You can even call me a boob, and I'll take it. But if you made $3 billion and you spent $1 billion to get games and into your service, that's a $2 billion profit. Again, I'm no mathematician here, but I think they're making money. Game Pass is okay, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get your thoughts.
I was joking with a few people in the chat that were, pointing that out. It's like those guys' math ain't mathing. Like it just doesn't make sense if you're getting 100% of the sales on the Xbox side. And if you're getting Game Pass subscriptions, you're getting guaranteed monthly income from those subscribers. But aside from that, there's no way mathematically you can get 30% of something and do better than the person that's getting 100% or 70% from your cut. Because unless Call of Duty magically has a $1.5 billion budget, there's no way the math is going to work out. I challenge anybody to put the math together to show me how PlayStation can be ahead on a 30% cut when whatever they sell gives 70% to Xbox, and then same thing on Steam and 100% on Xbox. It just, you would have to have sold on PlayStation alone, which, keep in mind, a $1.5 billion budget is what it would have to be for that 30% cut to even remotely come close to outdoing their cost versus their profit margin. You would have to sell at that point 20 plus million copies just on PlayStation alone. And even then, that's assuming that budget for Call of Duty was in the billions. So there's no way their math is mathing. But all of that aside, it's funny to me that you have these people concerned, and they can't even make up their mind on what they're concerned about. Last week, it was concerned about they took away the $1 deal for Game Pass. It's like, oh, I can't get my Call of Duty for $1. It's like, okay, I understand you're mad. You wanted to do the extra cheap route, even though you want to badmouth people for renting games, but you wanted to get it for $1. Now you can't. Yep. Ha ha. Sucks to be you. But now you got to pay the full 20 and enjoy Call of Duty, which a lot of those same people think that $20 only affords you to play one game in Game Pass at a time. Like, I mean, yes, you can only play one game at a time, but it's not like you can't play Call of Duty this hour and then play Forza Horizon 5 the next hour, or Diablo the hour after that, or, Halo the hour after that. So it's like they make these stupid, like, math, gymnastic, I don't know, thought processes that, oh, well, it's not, Call of Duty is not worth my $20 for the month, but yet they forget that there's 400 plus other games that you can play. So if you get tired of Call of Duty in a couple of hours, you have 400 other plus games you could give a try. But they were mad about that. They took the $1 deal away. Now they're mad about the fact that, well, there's no way that, Microsoft will make their money back. And if they don't get like 30 million subscriptions, like, they just throw random numbers that they pull out of their butt when it comes to, oh, well, they need to get like 30 more million subscriptions for this to even make sense, mathematical sense for Xbox or Microsoft in general. I think there's smarter people at Microsoft than a lot of these, I guess, financial advisors on Twitter. I mean, if you're that much of a financial advisor on Twitter, you probably don't need to be on Twitter because you're making that much money outside of it. But all of that being said, why aren't you working for Sony then at that point? Why aren't you working for Microsoft? Are you not good enough of a financial advisor to help them with their books? I mean, I think, considering how Microsoft is a $3 trillion company, I think they're doing pretty good on their own. They may not make the decisions that we all like at every given time, but no company does. Like, even if you're a fan of Apple, I'm pretty sure there's been a time where they've crossed you, whether it's iTunes or the iPhone or an iPad or earbuds or whatever the case may be. So no one's going to have a glowing review for any company that they fanboy over. But the fact that they're more concerned over Microsoft, which in a lot of cases isn't their preferred platform, as opposed to Sony that doesn't even have a roadmap for their own first party, that would be something to be concerned about. But
I agree.
I just find it's funny that they're worried that, this 11th hour just before Call of Duty launches everywhere, and that a lot of people might just get access to it via Game Pass or use their Game Pass subscription that they've probably had, like myself, for the past 5 or 6 years, or whenever it started in 2017, that somehow that's going to bankrupt the company. Like, I'll be honest with you, I'm not worried about Microsoft going bankrupt with Game Pass. Like, I'm going to, use it until the wheels falls off kind of thing, and just enjoy the fact that I'm saving money for the most part. Yes, I do own shares in Microsoft, but like I said, if Game Pass doesn't do well, they have other things that they make billions and billions of dollars off of that's going to keep my shares in pretty good standing, all things considered. But I just find it so funny when even, new supposed gaming news journalists and the online news sites themselves pick these silly fanboy-ish like topics to be worried about. Like, if anything, I would say write an article on when they're going to have the other Call of Duties come to Game Pass. Not that that's the highest thing on my priority list, but that would be more of a thing to question.
I agree.
Do we see those after Black Ops 6? Do we see them like once every couple of months kind of thing? Talk about that. Don't talk about like, oh, Game Pass is not going to survive after this weekend, or PlayStation will be the one that will be in better financial standing after this. Like, I thought, Bungie was supposed to be the better financial, get than Activision was. And we all see how that turned out. So I don't know. It just feels like they're grasping at straws. And like I said earlier, Xbox has got to be the baddest ass, excuse my language, zombie that's ever lived, for the fact that people keep on announcing their death, and they've been going strong for 20 plus years. So it is what it is.
No, you're not wrong. Look, King Corey in the chat said if Sony had a great subscription service like Game Pass, no one would say anything. Nope, they would be championing what is going on. I mean, again, that's a fantastic point. When are the rest of the games coming to Xbox Game Pass? Now, my thought and theory is they want people laser focused on Black Ops 6. That's my personal take. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. Those games, the entire Call of Duty collection, I don't necessarily know if they're going to do this. I know that if you turn on Call of Duty right now, there's the hub, right, which is confusing as F, by the way. I think the last time, and maybe, you know what? This proves to me that I'm an old man, because when I started getting back into Call of Duty, I was like, why can't I find where the single player is? That they keep pushing me to all of this multiplayer stuff that I don't want to do. And it was an old man situation for me. I'm embarrassed, but it is what it is, right? And I'm not the only one. It is confusing. I'm wondering if, and again, this is my opinion, not a fact, so please don't clip me on this one. I'm wondering if they're considering, or they're currently working on, a Master Chief Collection-esque type of Call of Duty thing for Call of Duty, meaning that you'll be able to, say, take your favorite 10 maps and make this playlist for yourself and your buddies and the single player, and it ranges from Call of Duty 1 or 2 to present. I mean, again, it sounds super cool, but it also sounds very confusing and probably very hard to develop for. So I don't know if that's something they're working on. All the games are going to get in there at some point. But look, Xbox is not dying. They are the biggest third-party publisher in gaming. And I keep saying this on the socials. Let that sink in for a second. Xbox, who has died more times than Jason Voorhees, Freddy Krueger, and Michael Myers combined, is still here. They make more money than pretty much any of the publishers that are currently making games. That includes PlayStation, that includes Nintendo, that includes EA and 2K and the whole lot of them. They're making money hand over fist. Xbox Game Pass. So I pulled some stats because, folks, I'm all about that evidence-based conversation, and I like numbers. If you don't like my opinion, I'm not even going to argue. You're perfectly fine to disagree with me, but you can't argue the numbers. So here's some numbers just for some shits and giggles of it all. Now, this comes the way of Reddit, and we did have places like VGC and IGN and a few others. Even Tom Warren had made mention of it. Tom Henderson's site talked about it, that Xbox Game Pass is expected to make, get ready for this, hold on to your butts, $5.5 billion in 2025. Let me repeat that. according to analysts who get paid a lot of zeros to make these claims, Xbox Game Pass is expected to exceed $5.5 billion in 2025. Okay? How much money did they make before that? Well, I have those numbers for you too, because according to Cade, which is a legit site, in 2022, they reported that we're in 2024. In 2022, Xbox Game Pass was reported to have made over $3 billion. In 2021, $2.9 billion, and it continues to grow ever since.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they're making, again, folks, money hand over fist. Don't worry about Xbox, who spends, and confirmed by everybody, $1 billion a year of investment into the service to get games in there so you and I and everyone stays subscribed. Xbox Game Pass is not dead. It is not going anywhere. I don't care what GI.biz or Christopher Dring or MBG or any of these other PlayStation channels talk about. It's not going anywhere. And I'm going to tell you this right now. In secret corners and circles of the interwebs where they're not on camera, they're all circle jerking each other to hope that that PlayStation gives them this kind of value, because that is an absolute fact. The value that Sony gives you is charge them more. Xbox does what Xbox does. And again, I'm not singling out any particular PlayStation loyalist or cultist, if you will, but you know who exactly I'm talking about, that has nothing nice to say about Xbox or its community on a consistent basis. They are all talking in private chats and private conversations, praying and hoping that Sony acknowledge them as fans, which they'll never do, and stop beating them over the head for charges of everything, from stands to extra content to raising the prices of controllers and consoles and charging you $30 for a paperclip. But somehow with the gaming media and these fine folks, it's okay. It's not okay. And the reason why Sony continues to do it is because I remember, no names on this place, obviously, I'll pay $100 for the next God of War because I'll pay for quality. You don't think that they bookmark that? Well, this guy says he's going to pay $100. Well, let's do that. And they're probably going to do it. So don't say that. Say it privately. Don't say that publicly. That's ridiculous. Any final thoughts on the ridiculousness of Xbox is dead, and more importantly, Xbox Game Pass is going to be killed off by Call of Duty somehow?
Just look at the amount of games that are in the lineup to come to Game Pass. Not just third party, but their first party stuff that we already know that's coming, and the stuff that we know that they're working on that hasn't gotten a release date just yet, which we'll probably find out like for the second half of 2025 come June. I can't see Game Pass dying considering the lineup. Like,
yeah,
even somebody that may not like Xbox's ecosystem for whatever reason can't deny that, a subscription, even if they cancel it every other month, although the way things are coming into Game Pass, I can't see a reason to cancel at this point, considering like week after week, you got, games that if you haven't already picked up, they're in the service, or ones that are new to the service that, there was no like pre-announcement, like was that the Mech Warrior or Mech Warrior Clans or something?
Yeah, that just popped in there, and apparently it's really good. So
yeah. So I can't imagine them not making more year after year, especially as their first party studios continue to churn out new and more games, new IPs. A lot of studios have multiple teams working on multiple projects. So it's like, I just can't see why there aren't the stories about, hey, Xbox now has this roadmap that covers probably all the way through till 2028. What's Sony doing? We got Ghost of Yotai that we know about, and that's about it. And
God of War 1 through 3 remake, which, look, I'm not going to front.
Yeah.
If you are a fan of God of War, and I am, those God of Wars are classic as they get. Now, they're supposed to be remaking them.
Mhm.
I'm hoping that they're not just, like they just like, clean up some of the edges and here you go for $70. I won't buy it then. If they're going to do actual remakes, the games are old enough to actually be remade. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I just think that the remake situation is a little out of control. Like everything has become a remake or a remaster. I don't know if Sony can keep living like that. They need to figure it out. They need to figure it out quickly.
Well, they figured something out. No DLC for Spider-Man 2. They're going to sell you what would have been DLC as standalone games.
They are going. I actually said that. I was talking to a couple of people. I said it. I think I said it to King David. I said, "Watch what they're going to do. The 3 DLCs they're going to combine into a game and potentially add it to Venom, which is what I think they're going to wind up doing. And they're going to make Venom the Lethal Protector. Look, I'm not going to front. That game comes out. It's mine day one. I'm a huge fan of him, specifically Venom. And that particular storyline, if you are a fan of comics, which I'm a big comic nerd, that was a dope ass storyline. So it's Insomniac. They're going to change it a bit, but it's listen, it's going to be good. But that's exactly what they're going to do. And again, you didn't see many stories about that, did you?
No.
You didn't.
And they're getting closer and closer on that timeline. No longer 2 years. It's less than a year and a half at this point. So
15 months for Spider-Man 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Indeed, we will see. Listen, shout out to Smokey, who asked if we were going to talk about the Master Chief in Black Ops 6. We're going to get to that in a second, but I do want to catch up on Super Chats, and we'll get to that story, and then we'll get you guys and gals out of here, because, again, this is one of the smaller shows. I do have some information about what to expect, specifically with Master Chief showing up as an operator in Call of Duty Black Ops 6. So we have here JJ saying 117. What's going on, brother? Thank you so much for being here. And of course, thank you very much for the very generous $5 super chat. He goes on to say, I saw that Pearl Abyss refused time exclusivity deal with PlayStation for their new game. Sega and Square learned this, and more companies see it. So with Pearl Abyss, they did refuse that deal with Sony. Sony was going to publish, and they said no. And the reasoning, and again, it had to be translated from Korean, which it was done correctly. I did read the correct one. Apparently, they believed, as a company and a smaller developer, that they could reap the rewards better if they self-published the game versus locking it to one platform, meaning Sony doing what Sony does. So again, it wasn't because now and again, I'm not in the room. I guarantee you, Fuzzy, specifically talking about what JJ is what he's saying here, is that more companies are looking at what happened with Square, and they're like, yes, that we can't not, because Square's a big conglomerate company. They are a massive third party. Listen, whether you like them or you don't, they are a big third party publisher. And if they and again, I'm not in the room and I don't have the books in front of me. I'm saying this being very facetious. They could technically survive a screwing. You understand what I'm saying? And still put out games. They had to cancel a lot of things, but what ultimately what wound up happening with Sony is they got a bad bag of goods is what wound up happening with them. And I think more people are starting to realize, more developers, more publishers, that these Sony-only deals only benefit Sony. They don't benefit the publishers or the developers, and that cannot be. So we'll see what happens. Again, shout out to Pearl Abyss for not taking that deal, because it would have been a bad deal, in my opinion. But we'll see. Day Reezy drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, maybe ponies can find loose change in their couch for Black Ops 6. No free rides for you pathetic port begging ponies. No free 99 access to Shout out to you, Dave Reezy, for being very facetious, if you will. Jay Rambert drops a very generous $10 super chat. And Jay goes on to say, I know people don't follow the financial sector, but a $3 trillion company is the last thing I'm worried about. People should be worried about Sony since they are way smaller. Gaming media has failed. Look, Sony is a billion-dollar company. Sony is making investments right now in other places that are not gaming. They have spent a lot of money on film and music catalog licenses that they bought up. They also bought a movie house that they are hoping to take advantage of. They're investing in other places. Now, granted, PlayStation is their bread and butter. There's just no doubt about it. They're a billion-dollar company, but they can't keep taking these bum deals, and they've had quite a few of them. PlayStation Portal, it's a nice piece of tech, but it's very, very limited. So it didn't sell as well as I think that they wanted it to sell, and that's their own fault. PlayStation VR 2.0, complete failure. Millions of investment, millions of those units just sitting around on stores. No one's buying it. That's a big problem. Even though you can now use it on PC, the device is $60 and you need to get for it. And even then it's not working that well. So no one's buying it. And of course, you said it earlier, the Bungie investment. Wow, almost $3 billion and $3.6 billion, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just not working out for them. So they can't keep taking these massive losses. They're not Microsoft. They're not even close to Microsoft. Concord. Thank you, sir. I actually was so far in my brain pan, I forgot about it. Well, there you go. The biggest bomb in the history of bombs is Concord. And well, there you go. Gamer by Choice drops a very generous $5 super chat. And Gamer by Choice goes on to say, it's funny to me, people want Xbox to fail. But when Sony takes advantage of their market share, they complain Xbox is not competitive. Make it make sense. That's a great point. It's just, I think what you're starting to see, and listen, we're not boobs here, folks. Everyone that's here, we have over 600 people watching live. We understand the game, right? We understand that it's a narrative-based conversation that people want to have, and it's half-truths. They give you half of the conversation, so it sets up with what they're trying to sell you. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe, ladies and gentlemen. It's just not a good feeling. That's all I'm going to say. Dave Reezy says this after dropping a $5 super chat. Shout out to Eddie Murphy for making that popular. Imagine if Black Myth drops in Game Pass and it runs better and looks better. That's another story that dropped over the weekend. Black Myth Wukong, if you did not know, obviously it was delayed on Xbox and Xbox Series X and S. It showed up in the ERSB. Now, does that mean it's coming out soon? I don't know. Look, I am sure that after the delay, Microsoft sent over the ninjas and they went and worked with the Black Myth Wukong developers, and they're like, listen, we're going to get this right. They're going to work together and they're going to help get this thing running tip-top shape. I don't know if in my opinion, they should do that with every small studio. Send out these team of technical ninjas to get it working right, so there are no more of these stories. But I would imagine that it's expensive, and Microsoft has to spend considerable money to get a team over to Korea to hang out with these folks to get it done. Now, could they do it online or and remote? I guess, but I think a lot of really quality development goes hands-on. Like, you want to be in the same room, is from what I understand. So let's hope that it does in fact release. And I will say this, folks, and I put this challenge out to you. In my opinion, if you want to see games like Black Myth Wukong continue to come to the console, go buy these games. Now, if it's an Xbox Game Pass, no, you're paying your service fee. You play it through there. I don't think it's coming to Xbox Game Pass. I thought it was at one point, but I believe that the game is just going to release. I'm purchasing that game day one. It's not even a question. Whether it's 60, 70, whatever the price is, I'm going to buy it. The game looks dope. I want to support the dev, and I think you should support them as well, especially if you are in the camp of enjoying these types of games. You gotta support the dev if you want these types of games to continue to come to Xbox. That's just my spiel on it. So before we get out of here, let's talk about what happened with Modern Warfare 3 and Master Chief, because it was reported that Master Chief and a bunch of extras were supposed to launch into Modern Warfare 3 as an operator. Now, an operator, has somebody asked me, what was an operator? That's the character that you play. They're considered operators. That's what that's the jargon. Now, apparently there is a rumor, and it's probably legit, that Master Chief is going to be one of the big ones happening first for Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And it wouldn't surprise me, because the original plan to get him into Modern Warfare 3 was scrapped at the last minute. And I think that was done in anticipation of getting him into Black Ops 6. Because again, obviously, when he was supposed to drop, Modern Warfare 3 was at a later part of its lifespan. And listen, everybody would have bought it, but everyone is going to be buying or playing Black Ops 6 because, well, it's Black Ops 6, right? Yeah. And look, I don't consider myself a genius by any stretch of the truth, but I can say that I do have common sense. And if you are taking a $70 AAA, and I would even dare say quadruple A game, putting it into your service, anyone that plays this legitimately, I'm not talking about like people like me have been away for years, I'm talking about legit Call of Duty players, Fuzzy, are going to spend the $30 for the Volt Edition upgrade, right? Yeah. Because they didn't have to spend $99.99 or $108 and change after tax, because most people would have done that. People on PlayStation who play Call of Duty legitimately are spending $108 plus microtransactions. So again, not being a market mathematician by any stretch of the truth here, if you got the game for quote unquote free, as most people say, you're buying the $30 upgrade because you didn't spend the other $70. I guarantee you that when Master Chief gets in there, and it's not going to end with Master Chief. I've heard some things. I don't know if they're legit. Again, take this with an absolute grain of salt. We might see someone from Gears. We might see some additional Halo characters in there. I would not be surprised if they take this to the next level and you get a Fallout armor guy in, power armor in there. Yeah. Why? Well, because what's happening on Wednesday, that's Fallout Day. The new show goes into production soon. Next month, they're going to start working on season 2. This is an opportunity for Microsoft to put everybody that's somebody in this freaking game. So we'll see. Let's talk about Master Chief being one of the first to arrive, as he should, because, well, there's no one better than 117.
Yeah. I love the idea of like these like cross promotion or like just using some of the stuff that's in-house as far as their own IP. Like, I mean, even though Fortnite doesn't have that much in-house stuff as far as with Epic itself, but they have so many different DLC characters and skins and things along those lines that have been doing well for years. More people probably spend money on that than they've done on like some of the battle passes and stuff in recent years. But having something like that come to Call of Duty, where they've been having different skins to begin with, as far as whether it's hip hop or R&B singers and so forth in there.
I mean, Cardi B was in it. That's all I have to say. So Snoop Dogg is in it. Now, who does? Yeah. Listen, I'm not going to front. I wouldn't play as Cardi B. It's fine, but I would play as Snoop Dogg. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, it's kind of dope. I'm not.
But that's the thing, and that's what a lot of times hooks their player base in. Like after they've already unlocked some of the gun skins that they wanted, having something like that they can pick up, especially if they haven't spent the full 100 on the game, they just did the $30 upgrade. They're looking at that other 70 could either go to another game or to microtransactions or somewhere else in their budget altogether. But it does open up that opportunity. I know for myself, that's what I usually look at doing, where anything that's in Game Pass, I'm doing the $30 upgrade. Now I may pick up the game depending on how much playtime I've dedicated to it. So something like Starfield, yeah, I'm picking it up, but I'm waiting until it's on sale where it's like, a lot less expensive in comparison. But I'm fine with doing that, knowing that I can take some of the money that I've put into like the mods and things along those lines, and it doesn't bother me that I'm doing that, considering how it's part of the subscription that I've already paid to, hundreds, if not several hundreds of games within the service. So I totally see people doing that, where Master Chief comes in there. That's going to be probably for that day, probably one of the biggest selling skins that they've had in a long time, type of thing. And if they have Marcus Phoenix later, or if they have Doom Guy later, or something along those lines, like I say, go through the whole gambit of your Microsoft owned IPs and incorporate that into it. And if it means you can create special modes for that as well, even better. But that would be awesome. And it's awesome that they're looking at doing this. And even if it's, available on other platforms, that even, plants the seed for people to, pay more attention to this platform and be like, you know what? Why did they put, Marcus Phoenix in there? Or why did they put, Master Chief in there? Well, I got to check out that game.
Yes.
Maybe they play it through, streaming, where they have it on their Fire Stick or something along those lines. And at that point, you now have somebody that's also joined the Xbox ecosystem without, having to spend tons of dollars to get into it. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what other characters they bring. But starting off with Master Chief just feels right.
It absolutely does. As anything with Master Chief just feels right, because he's the OG, right? Shout out to Salt Wagon actually says Doom Guy meets Master Chief. This has got to happen. Yeah, you're gonna get Doom Guy in there for sure. There is, and again, think about this for a second. Why would you put a Doom Guy in Call of Duty? Well, because a new Doom is coming out next year, right? Mm-hmm. This is what would Joanna Dark make a good operator? Yeah, she would, because there's a new game coming out. I listen. The whole point of having these characters is you can run around as your favorite character. I think that there's something to be said about the selling power of buying and playing as a Master Chief, as a Marcus Phoenix, as maybe even a zombie Dom would be kind of dope. A little bit disrespectful, but also fun at the same time, right? So Stage on X asks, would they also show up in the PlayStation version? The answer is, if they're smart, yes. Just like Fortnite, because I have Fortnite, and when I use it on PlayStation, and I haven't played in years, but when I did play on PlayStation, I used Master Chief, right? Because I bought the skin. So I could use a Master Chief using a PlayStation. Same thing with Kratos on Xbox, which I bought the Kratos skin. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be cross-pollination, and I think wherever you play, your character is going to be. So if you're playing on PC, you can use your characters. If you're playing on PlayStation 5, you can use your characters. And the same thing with Xbox. And I don't think it's and that's the other thing. We keep saying PC, we keep saying Xbox, and we keep saying PlayStation 5, which is going to be great. It's going to make bank loads of money. It's going to make $1 billion in under a week. There's no doubt about it. But you know what we're all forgetting, folks? Next year's Switch 2. Do you know how well Black Ops 6 is potentially going to sell as a launch game? Potentially on the Switch 2, it's going to be redonkulous. So don't worry about Xbox Game Pass. Xbox is going to be making billions of dollars that you'll never see and I'll never see. And just play your games and enjoy them. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I do want to get everyone out of here. Let's make sure we're caught up to date on the super chats, and we are caught up to date. A big thank you, folks, for all of the generosity. As always, Mrs. Boom and I are incredibly grateful. Do not forget November 1st, which is a Friday, it is going to be the 4th annual Mrs. Boom's Birthday Bash. Her birthday, and 10 of you fine folks are going to walk away with a $50 gift card. That's right. We're doing it again, as they say. That particular Friday, which is November 1st, All Saints Day, if you are religious, is we're giving away $500 worth of gift cards. The first 5 will go to channel members. The next 5 will be for anybody that's in the chat. I will give you the hashtag, and you just put that into the chat, and you're automatically, thanks to the picker for StreamYards, you're registered. We pick the winners, and we get you your prize. And again, we've opened it up a bit. You can get a $50 gift card to any of the platform of your choice: PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo, now even Steam. We'll get you a Steam card for $50. And if you are outside of the country, we will recognize you as a winner, and we will send you the cash value of that $50 prize via PayPal. So if you, again, we're one of the few channels that A, do these big giveaways, and 2, represent our supporters on other places outside of the Americas, which is we want to do that because, again, if you support us, we want to support you. And later on in November, and we'll continue to talk about it as we get closer, Mrs. Boom and I, to actually support the devs, we're giving away 15 copies of Stalker 2 to either PC or Xbox. And of course, the first 8 winners, whoever's the channel member and gets picked, you get your choice. And the next 7 winners will be anybody that's in the chat of that very special day. Because again, that developer has been through it, and we just kind of want to give back a little bit, kind of help them, and again, it's only 15 copies, and I'm not being facetious. It's a lot of money for us, but it's only 15 copies. And mind you, they're not giving us those copies, and neither is Microsoft. We're buying those out of our own pocket because, again, we're trying to support the devs, like a lot of the PlayStation gamers say that they do, and they don't. So with that said, thank you so much for checking out today's Xbox Lunch Break Special. Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell your brand, kind sir. But it's not just your brand we're selling. The missus has started her own podcast on Fridays, Fright Nights with a Ferocious Fee. That is Fright Night. That is Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But we also want to sell your brand, of course, the best place for anything and everything in the racing genre. Tell people where they can subscribe to both your YouTube channels as well as follow you on social media.
Well, as always, greatly appreciate having me on, and just love doing this on Monday, afternoons, catching up on what the gaming news was of last week and anything that, dropped on the weekend. It's always an awesome time, and, so awesome to have you back, and can't wait to the 29th for the embargo to lift. But, man, this was an awesome show, awesome chat. Love everybody's takes and interactions, and seeing how the math wasn't mathing for a game.
I think I'm going to name that the name of the short. The math ain't mathing.
But this was so awesome. But man, for those that want to hear my rambles and rants on anything gaming related, just follow me on the app, formerly known as Twitter, at Fuzzy_Belvedere. And if you're into horror, whether it's slashers, zombie flicks, supernatural, possession, even found footage, which we did an episode on, like a found footage film called Hell House LLC. So for all of those that are going to haunted houses,
that actually was really good. It was really good, that one. Mr. Boom and I watched that.
Yeah, if you're into haunted houses, definitely give it a watch. Well, maybe after you go to the haunted house. I don't want people too scared in the haunted houses, but yeah, definitely a good episode to check out. Do a search on YouTube for Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, and that's F-I as in Fiona, every Friday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can find her on Twitter or X, whatever. I still call it Twitter.
Me too.
Just do a search for Ferocious Fee 78. That's F-I 78, and I'll drop the link in the chat for her YouTube. And then for me, just do a search on YouTube for Fuzzy Belvedere, all one word. You'll be able to find my channel and other podcasts that I'm on. Like later tonight, FSP on Fun Speculations channel, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. And then hope to see everybody right back here in the chat for Breakfast with Boom, 10 a.m. Friday morning. Look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. And real quick, lastly, Will Broke Boy Lewis drops an additional very generous $2 super chat. And this message is for you, Fuzzy. He says, Fuzzy, send some HorrorCon pics to your XDM. Check them out. Yeah,
Nice.
thank you so much. I haven't been to a con in a minute. I don't have the time. I didn't even go to New York Comic Con, and it's right. It's I don't know, 45 minutes to an hour ride from where I am into Manhattan. I hate the city. I'm not going to front, but that's because I worked there for 21 years, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm over New York City. Sorry, but ladies and gentlemen, again, thank you so much for checking out the show. We super appreciate you supporting us with the super chats, with the channel memberships, and of course, just simply watching and liking the show is big support for us. We are on the hunt for 16K. We're not going to hit it this year because we're only at 15. We're almost at 15.3. There's no way we're going to get 780 something subs by the end of the year, and that's perfectly fine. We just have again. If you're finding the channel for the first time, please consider subscribing. Share this out on the socials. Let people know about this, about Double Barrel Gaming. And, of course, our amazing panel members that we have. Everyone that I have on the shows are legit great people, have great programming, and you should definitely be subscribed to all of them. And, of course, I'm going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day, folks, it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids. And he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Lunch Break Special.